Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, welcome. Funny enough, my name is not Nigel Quigley. I have not been snowed under, and this is WhiteWalkers Chat and Craic, otherwise known as the Ulster Rugby Roundup show. I'm David Tubbing, obviously known as the Wingnut. Joining me tonight from Cook and Ulster, it's Ilse van Staden. Ilse, good evening.
Hi, how are you, Dave?
I'm very good, very good. As you can tell, I've been drafted in at the very last second, but it's okay because we know what to do up here in Ulster. Now, really tonight, what we're looking at here, a couple of things. We're going to look obviously at the end of the season there, and obviously the loss to Toulouse. Where we went from, where are we going from here? Obviously, we're going to look at other aspects of Ulster Rugby, including Mixed Abilty and Tag Rugby, and more on that later. And Ilse is going to help out with a wee look at women's rugby, and we're going to have a chat with somebody from Rugby Academ Ireland about that, but more on that in a while. First of all, I want to give a wee quick shout out, first of all, to the king of WhiteWalkers, the Night King himself, Nigel Quigley. I know he's running around the place like a demented butterfly, but we will do our best to keep the thing running for him. And a wee shout out to, first of all, Caoimhe Biltong. Somebody I know might run that one, I don't know. Warning South African stacks, including Druerwoer, Biltong, and Druerwoer bites, made from 100% Irish organic beef, with a wee bit of the old nom 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 South African spice in there. Okay. So maybe you could give us a wee insight on that, maybe perhaps? Is it all as nom as it is?
It's down to customer preference, but if I look at how happy our customers are, it definitely is down to the nom 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 factor. We only use organically reared Irish beef, which we buy from local organic farmers, thus investing in our local economy. And we make all of it right here in Northern Ireland, so none of it's imported. And then we ship it out to our customers who are always eagerly waiting.
Oh, excellent. Absolutely fantastic. And also want to give a wee shout out to our colleagues at Teamwear Sports, Teamwear Store, .ie, official brand partners to Canterbury, BLK, Mizuna, and Samurai here in Ireland. And they'll supply all your sports club and schools needs and teamwear requirements. And of course, to our good friends at Rugby Academ Ireland, who have been the pioneering rugby academy here, helping aspiring players enhance their rugby and lifestyle skills through practical training and bespoke curriculum, equipping students with an excellent education and the qualification needed to begin a career in professional rugby and beyond. And if you want to see more on that, visit their website at rugbyacademyireland.ie. So first of all, I'll introduce one of our guests, a very well-known proponent of mixed ability and tag rugby here in Ulster, and we've got him onto the show to have a wee good chat about it. Please help us welcome Gregor Galway. Gregor, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
And the hair looks well. We like that. Absolutely. We're going after the John Cooney look on that one. Ilse, do you want to introduce our other guest tonight?
We also have Kiva from now I see words have now gone. Kiva from Rugby Academ Ireland, who's also with us to have a look at the women's side of it with me tonight.
Brilliant. Hello, good evening, Kiva.
Oh, how you guys? How are you?
Not so bad. How are you, Kiva?
I was about to say morning there, and I remembered what time it was. So been a long day.
Let's go to the Truman Show. Okay, let's start off and let's have a look at what's been happening in the wide world of rugby this last few weeks. Obviously, it's been very busy with the end of the Pro 14 season, and obviously with European rugby, and obviously from an Ulster point of view, perhaps a disappointing end to some. For others, actually, it's been either a blessing in disguise or possibly maybe we could look at how far we got as a province since lockdown, and obviously with the very busy schedule that we've had in between. First of all, let's in general, after the return to play, how do you think Ulster have got on Gregor, what do you think?
I think it went good. At least we reached the final, which at least like people were doubting us probably before the start of the season. With these signs like Madigan, he's had a wee bit of experience. Matheson as well knows the conditions pretty well. And plus the fans need to get behind the players even more. Like on the forums in particular, some people were saying, "Oh, that player needs to get it lost and all that." But you have to back your 15 or even that whole squad. The pitch and the fans as well just need to keep backing the team, even though there's going to be some fans on Friday.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and congratulations to anybody who hit the lucky lottery there to get one of the 300 pairs in the great lottery. And certainly, anybody watching tonight, if they want to feed back to us, let us know what the atmosphere is like. That'd be fantastic. Ilse, what have you seen from from the last few weeks? How have Ulster performed in general?
I definitely think that there's been a bit of a lack of cohesion. And at times it did look like Ulster was struggling to physically get back into games. But it's what happens after you haven't played rugby for 6 months. Yeah. So it's just about focusing on what's next. It's like we've got the start of the next season already upon us on Friday night. So it can only get better. The only way is up for Ulster.
Yeah, funny. When we looked at when we look at what happened in the Pro 14 final against Leinster, you could see there were glaring errors in terms of one of cohesion. Secondly, the players just not firing maybe on all the cylinders they should, which you would expect. Because of the fact that they've been out of action for what would have been the majority of their normal season. Would you have any worries about players being played out of position? And I'm not just talking about one in particular. I'm talking about in terms of the team itself. Obviously because we have a little bit of depth in the squad now. Do you think anybody being played slightly out of position has that contributed somewhat to the lack of cohesion?
I definitely think it did. Yes. After COVID lockdown, we've had 6 months where there was no rugby, and it was definitely the time to come out and to try all these different things. There will be several people who disagree with me, seeing how it's always great to get silverware, but if with a season that was basically at its end, we did make it to the Pro 14 final against Leinster, where we were outperformed in almost every aspect, but we now need to look forward to the new season that's coming, and the only thing we can do is learn from the lessons from seeing different players in different positions, and finding what makes Ulster as a team work. You can't just wake up one morning and you have the magical formula to success. It's literally, you have to see what works, and it will only work if it's under pressure.
Kiva, you're looking at it from outside and looking at sort of things that we're looking at here in terms of cohesion, and obviously being out for so long and then having to come back into training. From that aspect, where do you see Ulster going from here, or where do you think they need to concentrate on?
Yeah, I think it's odd. I'm obviously looking at it from a Leinster point of view, so I was obviously quite happy with the results. But I think as you're kind of saying, like, it was a very odd, very, very odd season. So you can only really get a gauge on how well you've dealt with the lockdown and that kind of thing when you're in a game. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But like, having said that, again, obviously there's a new season coming up, and also was it the A squads or the academy squads played each other there, and that was a good win for Ulster as well. So I think like long term, maybe it's a bit of trial and error now. They know for the future what works, what doesn't work, but there's obviously good crop coming up. There's people trying new positions, that kind of thing. So I think it's very easy, as we're saying, to just say, oh, they played terribly and what's going on. But I think have a bit of a longer term view and have a look at the year that they've had, kind of thing. Sometimes it just doesn't work on the day, but there is that future there as well.
Gregor, do you think the depth that Ulster have now, has contributed now, has given us maybe an idea of where we're going to go from here?
Yeah, it's like great. Like, look, at least we've got a season to look forward to, which at least we might have some, like, with the injuries, we can cope with the young talent coming through, like the likes of the A players who played. Might see a few of them playing, like, on Friday, which, like, that's what the A's do. They bring up great systems. Like, Kieran Campbell does a great job, regardless of bringing up the young players, like Aaron Saxton, for example.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We managed to catch a wee bit of Aaron Sexton there on some of the highlights, and certainly by the sound of it, he's certainly one to watch now for the next couple of years. I think the way he treated the Leinster A guys, I think we could be in for an interesting season if Dan McFern decides to bring him up for a couple of games. Maybe he could have the same shot in the arm as Balakoon did when he was introduced. So that could be an interesting one. I just want to give a wee quick shout out to Ian Gilbert there. Ian, how are you? It's great to see you, Gregor. And say good to see you with us, Ian. Look at it from a point of view of the academy lads, and then let's have a look at where they are. Apart from the aforementioned Mr. Sexton, is there anybody else who's catching the eye who could come up from the academy anytime soon? Ilse, what do you think? Do you think anybody's sort of caught the eye from the academy team?
I'm not that familiar with the academy players, but if you look at the young guns who's come through from the academy, the likes of Tom O'Toole and Eric O'Sullivan in the forwards, there's definitely a big ray of life for Ulster there. And it just keeps the senior boys on their toes as well, because you were only as good as your last game.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, look, I'm going to address the Stockdale issue here, and I'm going to hit it straight on the head here, because I know it was a great bone of contention. When for a lot of the games, Jake was put in rather than his usual place in the wing, was at full back. Now, looking at things in the longer term, I think it's actually a great move to see him get more time in there. Perhaps it's more of an IRFU project, perhaps, for cover for the Mr. Kearney, who's left the shores to go to the Western Force. But in longer term, do we see anybody else coming up from Ulster? Who could fall into the fullback position? Obviously, we've lost Will Addison for another few months. Is there anybody else apart from Matt Faddis? Could we see anybody else slot in there?
I personally think that what Ulster was missing in the back three was a bit of experience. Because yes, Stockdale has a massive amount of experience at playing international level, but he has that on playing on the wing, and with someone like Louis Ludek, who is standing towards the end of his career, that is, it's just a calming influence that was needed, and the calming influence comes with experience, and I definitely think that Ulster missed out on that, especially when the likes of someone like Louis wasn't playing. Yes, you have some of the really young guys coming through, and they are pure magic. But whenever the feathers get rustled, it's a completely different ball game, and that is when you then need that calming influence around you.
Oh, absolutely. For me, as you say, Louis provides that wee bit of confidence every time we've seen him come in. Even in the latter stages of the Toulouse game, you could see then there was a bit of a settlement in the back division in total, and then obviously looking at John Cooney now, John, congratulations to him. He's Ulster's Player of the Year for the season. certainly we know that he did look a little out of sorts in those last couple of games, but I can actually see the form starting to return back just as we were coming to the latter stages of that Toulouse game. So I think this season again, I think John's going to have a fair bit of competition now this time round, because we do have two great kickers coming in behind. We've got Bill Johnson coming in, and certainly for my money's worth anyway. I'll probably see Johnson starting quite a few games now once we get through this new international period with the Nation Series, and then into possibly another Six Nations side again. So from that side, Goonie's going to have quite a wee bit of competition on the kicking team. Would there be anybody else? Well, I better give a shout out to big Marcel Coetzee as well. Marcel's been an absolute star for us in the last few months, and it seems to be a close run thing with John for the Supporters Club Player of the Year. I'll say it. I personally voted for Marcel, but then I like a good bulldozer. If we make the meters, we'll take it. For my own 2p's worth, it's worth a go with Marcel, and obviously we've lost Jim McCluskey for another wee while with a couple of issues. Tom as well. I'm actually glad to see that there is an element of strength and depth now with our squad, and I think it's going to serve us well, certainly during this new Nation Series. Kiva, is there anything else or any other aspects of where Ulster's been? Do you think we can improve on? Is there any on the tactical side, or possibly even on the basic side, the basic skills? We've seen that bit of rustiness with the line out from time to time. Although I was saying that I've seen rust on all the line outs this last wee while, I have to admit. Is there anything you could pick out to say, for Ulster to improve on in the first half of the season?
Yeah, look, I won't claim to be an expert of Ulster rugby, unfortunately, but I think it's a bit of an odd situation, as we said. I would say, in my experience, a lot of that rustiness comes down to either not playing enough with that squad, or again, because of COVID, being away from each other for so long. So I think the communication and the cohesion that we've been chatting about, really, hopefully they build into it during the year. And you kind of find that, if you haven't played with someone for that 6 months or whatever, you're less able to read their cues, you're less able to read their body language. Really, really good partnerships in a team. They played together for years and years. They know exactly what the other person's thinking, and that takes time to build. But I'd say that's been really interrupted over COVID as well. So I might sound like a very positive sort of outlook kind of person, but I think give them a bit of time. Some of them a bit of international experience. Obviously got new players coming in, so I think give them a bit of time to work together, to get to know each other a bit better in different positions. And I've only got good things to say, basically.
Good stuff. Well, look, I've got a wee question in here from Rob Rossiter. Rob, good evening to you. Welcome to the show. Does the panel think Ulster is still short of a few more big ball carriers? Gregor Galway, what do you think, sir?
Okay. We need to just we've got each colour, but we just need some big we need to bred the young players. There could be some players who do not know about from the A's, Ireland under 20s captain David McCann could be one for the future. So if we see some of those guys, then they could be the future. But people will have their own opinions, but we can just say what we see off the pitch.
Yeah, great. Ilse, any thoughts on that one?
Look, when Marcel is not there, he's definitely missed. I think everybody noticed that in the Toulouse game, where he's a phenomenal ball carrier, and he's also a phenomenal defender, and he knows how to bring those big guys down. So if you have the likes of Sean Reedy, who's just getting back, you've got Nick, who's also a really good ball carrier. Yeah. And I think it's just about interlinking these boys and giving everybody equal opportunity to carry and build that confidence, especially with the new season coming up. Because you can develop that skill as a ball carrier. And I think it's very important for the rest of Ulster, the Ulster forwards, to actually look at the way that someone like Marcel is doing it and buy into that. And by doing that, everybody will just win.
Yeah, it's just raising everybody up into the levels as we go, and it's by taking it to that next stage, if we can. Especially, you certainly said Sean Reedy there, Sean. That's really proved to be, quite the machine. Actually, I have to admit. Say Nigel Quigley. There he is, Nigel. How are you? Good evening. Glad you can make it on there. Great points on the ball carriers, and I don't know who. You must say this. Wingnut is a legend. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah. Although, mind you, I'll still take the rugby ball from Mr. Williamson any day of the week. Thank you very much. Well, look, moving on a wee bit now. I'm gonna have a wee chat now with Gregor here about his mixed ability and tag rugby. Gregor, for us who haven't been there for a while or haven't had much experience with it, what is tag rugby?
So it's basically tag players with tags, and you have to try to stop them. And if you just have to stop them, and it's all about having fun. It's also about having scores.
So how many teams are there in the league you play with?
There's 8. There's currently 8 local clubs. We're one of them. We've got the Seaside Sharkies, also from Donaghadee. We've got a lot from around the province, basically. There could be one local to you, going down and support on a Sunday or something. There could be some future players, I'm just saying.
Oh, absolutely, definitely something I'm going to check out anyway. Certainly, if we have one up here, and definitely we'll have to give a big shout out to the New Forge Taggers. They've really brought things forward with tag rugby in general here in the province. Well, before COVID hit, what sort of a competition were you having there? What competitions have you played in?
Well, we go on tour. We play competitions against each other, fire home blitzes, which is good to see competition between the province teams, just to see you players and try to know each other's skills and insight weaknesses for the teams that you come up in a week or something, in a week's time, do your own analysis work.
And for you personally, Gregor, what does it mean to get out there and actually get playing?
It feels great, to be with mates, playing the sport that you love. It's a family sport. Rugby is the people that you meet are your friends for life. Some of them are.
And really, that's what it's all about. Everybody, it's all about the big rugby family coming in and coming in and having a lot of fun, and that's what it all comes down to. Well, have you been able to play since they lifted any of the restrictions, Gregor?
No, we have not.
Right. Well, and considering where things are going at the moment, we don't know when or if things are going to happen. Have you heard anything or any progress at all on it, Gregor?
I do not know. To be fair, I'm in a group of friends, so they let me know if there's any updates. Just
I see Rob Russell's just commented there. It's a great setup for mixed ability at Banbridge, and he wants to give a shout out to Clive and Raymond there, and also we have Darren Lobshire from South Africa. Welcome, Darren. Welcome to the show. Good to see you joining us. And who else have we got here on here? Let's see. Oh yes, Nigel. I've seen Gregor's posts, and what I liked about it, it's all about rugby. It's about fun, and it's almost a carnival type affair, celebrating what they do. It's absolutely brilliant. Well, you couldn't ask for better than that from the Night King himself. Kiva, from your side on the academy side, tag rugby and mixed ability rugby, how's that catered for? Or how do we cater for it within the game in general?
Yeah, tag rugby is something that we really offer at the moment, but definitely kind of that maybe not so much mixed ability, but maybe special needs or that kind of thing. Rugby is something that we have a bit of interest in. But just what I'm seeing there, I have to give a shout out to Rob as well, who's just set up a company called Rugby Cubs, who's looks after a bit of rugby for kids on sort of autism spectrum, ADHD, and that kind of thing. So there is there's the need for it. They had a very successful first training session there during the week. So it's not something I have major experience in either myself. But of course, you know, you have to take those considerations as well, that you are very likely to be coaching kids or young adults with the likes of ADHD, or any of those kind of things, that you have to adapt your session. Or it's something that I'm looking to improve on myself at the moment, rather than, you know, finding out about it and then having to adapt my session, that I'm already making those considerations just as a general kind of rule of thumb, because it's something that, obviously, look, rugby is something that suits all shapes, sizes, everything, and it should also suit people who have different requirements, different abilities as well. So I think I've a good friend who is mad into wheelchair rugby, you know, these kind of things, that they're growing as we come along. I think, again, they can only go up. I'd love to see more kind of teams like that prop up around the country.
Well, here, Gregor, how would we get involved? How do we get involved with the magic of tag rugby?
Right. So you could ask, go on the Ulster Rugby's website and look it up if you want to find out some information. Then you could get in contact with the numbers of the people. You could mail them and be just like, I want to come in. You could say, I want to come down and support Medical Club. Then I'm just like, of course. Just and just come down and get involved, even play if you want to.
Oh, that could be interesting. We should all just grub in for a wee WhiteWalkers blitz. That could be an interesting scenario. Craic, you'll be curting me off after 3 minutes. No. Look, the way I look at it, everybody is, mixed ability rugby, and I can say, my son's autistic and he absolutely loves rugby. He watches with me all the time, and it's something which I'd like him to get involved in, as and when the time comes. It's something which hopefully we'll see develop over the coming years, and certainly, Gregor, the enthusiasm we see from you, with some of the posts, absolutely, it can only grow further out from here,
Yeah. There's plenty plenty to come. My friend works in the Ulster Rugby. She was texting me before I was on this, telling me there's more to come. So expect some more teams coming through the ranks.
And look at that, and even the chief bloke himself has said, I'm going to send a huge thanks to Gregor for all he does to support the show. He's a star and it's great to see. Say thank you, Big Joe Sharp.
Thank you.
Well, look, and even as the Night King himself says, our sport is for everyone, and absolutely, I couldn't agree more with it. Well, look, Gregor, thank you very much for that. We look at that. Now I'm going to hand over to Ilse here for the next bit. Ilse, do you want to take on ahead?
Yeah. So this is just basically looking into women's rugby, especially in Ulster, but also how Rugby Academ Ireland has as a new initiative with regards to women in rugby. So if you look at Ulster, basically, currently, according to the Ulster Rugby website, there's approximately 25 clubs playing rugby, which is adult, youth, or a mixture of. And then it's structured by, there's currently three leagues, excluding the All Ireland League, of which Ulster is the only other province who has more than one team. Where you have in Ulster, you have Cook and Malone who play All Ireland League, and then you also have in Leinster, who has the most is of course Blackrock, Railway, Belvo, with I think 3, and then further down, Munster teams 1 and Connacht teams 1 in Galwegians. So this weekend is the kickoff of the Energia Community Series, where we're basically playing a community series where Cook is playing against Malone this weekend, as well as several of the other teams. I think it's Cook, Cavan, City of Derry, Malone, and Queens who take part in this community series. So that is all very well. It shows that in Ulster there's rugby for everybody, and women, regardless of where they fit into the skills level, there's a league for everybody to take part. So if we also look, it's very important for women's rugby in Ulster to have a good look at grassroots. And I don't know what Kiva's feeling is about grassroots rugby, but I'm a firm believer that your foundation in your province is only as good as your grassroots, because that is where you bring in your skill. That is where your skills and confidence and various other physical aspects of the game comes from, and where you get taught the basic fine skills in rugby, so that whenever you do go up to a higher league team or a provincial or even a national level, that those skills have been brought into place.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of that kind of grassroots, and I love the fact that now with the AIL, if you want to be playing in the women's AIL, you have to have that sort of underage structure. So you have to have an underage girls rugby structure. But yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think I love, in the last, say, 8 or 10 years now, it's far more likely when you ask a girl, at under 18s, under 20s, how long have they been playing rugby? And the vast majority are now saying that they've been playing since they've been 9 or 10, whereas that was almost unheard of a little while ago. Some people, Ali Meadow picked it up when she was 22, and a lot of other people had the same kind of story. I picked it up when I was 19. So I absolutely agree with all that, and I think I definitely support the whole thought process of you need the best coaches at underage level. Absolutely, and I think it's a big trend at the moment. The more rugby coaches I chat to, men coaches in women's rugby, it's typically because their daughters, their nieces, whoever, wanted to keep playing rugby as they went up, so they just started a team, which is brilliant. Absolutely love to see that, and I think it's only positive for the future.
Definitely, but also there's, like you say, there's so many girls who start playing rugby really young now, and I'm one of those that I wish I was in that position. Like most other women's rugby players my age, I took rugby up when I was 18. I came out of school and there was no rugby opportunities available for us. Again, growing up in South Africa, it was a completely foreign concept, because I think that women only started playing rugby together in 2001, 2002. But you're getting back into schools rugby and grassroots rugby. I know in Ulster that there's several schools who play women's rugby or girls rugby. But again, it's still not on that level that you have with boys. A great example is that the women's or the girls' schools cup final is a cross field match. There's no real lineouts. There's no real scrums. It's more like a full contact tag match.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that if as a province, Ulster wants to excel, we need to look at those underage girls coming through, where they have that full contact sessions while they are at school, and then bring that through an under 18, that's under 20 structure, so that it can feed straight into a senior setup. And again, that's whether it's that's whether it's Ulster or Ireland, because if you look at the young girls coming through, there are some spectacular athletes. in that under 18 group that's coming through every year. But unfortunately, it's sometimes like they just can't pick up the pace that is needed for the senior team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I coach both boys senior cup, and I coach just girls school rugby as well. And I definitely agree with that. I think until we sort of get a structure and a similar, or it doesn't have to be, the exact same as the boys set up, but there needs to be some sort of championship cup plate series. So I absolutely agree with that. I think that's definitely the way forward. And from the point of view then of these under 18s girls coming up, it's a massive thing that even before I was with the academy, it's something that something that I really wanted to see set up. And the more coaches you talk to and the more ex-players you talk to, it's something that absolutely has to happen in Ireland if we want to go anywhere. I mean, like we're just going to be miles behind the likes of England and France and that kind of thing in the Six Nations now, because they have an under 20 structure that these kids, these girls, these women are getting exposure to international rugby. And it's not a long-term view to expect our under 18 clubs girls, unless you're Bevan Parsons, of course, to then make that step up to international rugby in 1 or 2 seasons with no support. So yeah, absolutely, it's a massive issue there.
Yeah. So Bevan is an absolute gem of a player. That try she scored in the last Women's Six Nations there, it was just you would have seen that. You could have watched that 20 times and still think, okay, hold on, how did you manage that one? And then you watch it again and you just think, no, that's just because fine footwork and an unbelievable turn of pace.
Yeah. That's just it's just absolute talent. And obviously she was her talent and her ability was picked up at the under 18s level and invited to Irish squad training, and then did well enough to get picked and just been allowed to explore that international level. But again, like we're saying, look, it's a very, very tough jump for girls to make at the moment.
Well, also, how do you think the game should progress now? With schools, for example, here. Do you think we should have I know that we have a very similar outlook in terms of the schools cup, but I would love to see as much importance being given to the women's side as we do with schoolboys. Here, the schools cup is given an absolute pride of place within within the sporting context here in the north. It's played in the same day as the Macquarie Cup finals. And I would love to see the women's game get exactly the same billing, and I think it's fairly possible considering where our game is going now, and especially considering the performances of both our Ulster women and the Irish team as well. I think there should be plenty of room for that. Do you think how do we approach that? What can we do to try and push that forward?
I do think that we are still a fairly long way off from the point where women's rugby and girls rugby will get that type of recognition. If you look at, like I said, the Schools Cup, the Women's Schools Cup, the Girls Schools Cup final is played in a weekday at Kingspan, and it's a cross-field match. You don't really have that buy-in from schools and communities, because women's rugby, the idea of women's rugby, it shouldn't be just women's rugby. There's very little change between men and women playing rugby, bar for the fact that one is a man and one is a woman. But the laws are the same, the size of the ball is the same. And it's just about the recognition within communities that rugby is a game for everybody. It is somewhere that's welcoming to everybody, whether you are tall, short, long drink of water, whether you are slow or fast, whether you're male or female, whether you are have special need or special ability. It is a game for everybody, and everybody should be welcomed in it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the big thing that holds women's rugby back is the financial implication. Finances is one of the biggest barriers in women's sport. And it is. I know girls who drive from Monaghan and from Newry twice a week to come to cook training, so that they can come and they can play All Ireland rugby. And there's little things like that. It's just that recognition that yes, there needs to be a bit more investment in women's rugby, and that it's not just a bunch of tall blondes running around in a park. It is a game for everybody, and that some of these girls have got skills that in my 19 years of playing senior rugby, I wish I had. And it's phenomenal to see.
I would say I'd absolutely agree on that as well, because obviously at the academy we offer sort of part-time, full-time programs where you can come and train with us for 8 months. We also offer transition year programs. So at the moment we have a couple of girls, 2 full-time and then I think 6 part-time, who train with us all year round. And it's exactly that story, that these are girls who, unfortunately, we know there is no full-time professional career in rugby after, their time in the game. But yet they still come down and spend a whole year with us to better their game. So there is that want, there's that need. The players are ready, the clubs are ready, the girls really, really want this to happen. And it's just to take that next step. And I do agree. I think we're a little while off having a proper school system in. But I think if we had to prioritize something, I think the easiest thing to go for is, that kind of under 20 structure in clubs or in schools or internationally. And then schools is probably a little bit more difficult maybe to set up, but I think it's an absolute must.
Gregor, you've got an absolute humdinger of a question here. Fire away, mate.
Do you think like the 2017 Women's World Cup affair has helped get numbers into women's, and if are, like why?
I definitely think that the 2017 Women's World Cup brought an absolute buzz about when it came to women in rugby and women in sport in general. And there's been so many really good things that's come from that. But unfortunately, Ireland didn't perform the way we wanted to perform. And that is down to pressure. There's a reason why home teams struggle in World Cups. There's a phenomenal amount of pressure that's put on you when you're in that position, because you're not just representing yourself and where you come from and your club that you play for. You are representing every single women's rugby player in that country. So 2017 was a massive year for women's rugby, and I do think that there's been a boom. But we also now, after the Women's World Cup, we've got people like Nora Stapleton, who's heavily involved in, or used to be in, the IRFU and girls and women's development, and she's now moved on to Sport Ireland. You've got women's rugby players who are ex-Irish internationals, like Grace Davitt, who's currently coaching Malone, and she's basically driving Malone, and she is helping so many girls at Malone to become better players. At Cook, we have Eliza Downley. Eliza actually works for the branch, and Eliza is a bit of a cult hero in herself. She didn't just play for Ireland, but she also played All Ireland GAA, and she is an absolute machine, and she is doing such great work on the ground here in Ulster when it comes to education and development of young players coming through. Those are girls and women that we need to look up to, because you are only again, it's that coming down to that thing of if it's visible and it's seen and people know about it, if you know better, you do better. And that creates that drive to be better, like they would call them the 1%ers, who's willing to do that 1% extra, who's willing to put in the extra work, and to make them, or to make all these young girls realize that dream of you playing for Ireland is actually not that far out of your reach. So yeah, we definitely need more of those girls, and definitely need to be better role models for everybody that's out there.
Yeah. Well, look, I got a couple of points here from the guys commenting here. We'll start with Nigel here. He says, I confess to watching the Women's Six Nations about 10 years ago and thinking, that's a bit to go. But watching the Ireland ladies in the last couple of years, the improvement has been immense and really impressive. It has momentum now that cannot be allowed to slip. Rob Rossiter says, Ilse was at a blitz last season where there were something like 300 girls playing rugby.
To hear.
Yeah.
You know, Darren Lobshire, if we as rugby fans want to see our country lift the World Cup as winners, men or women's rugby, we have to start at the school level.
He's absolutely right. 100%.
Absolutely. You know, Ian Gilbert, he goes, Big Joe Shep welcomes everyone to rugby, well, except some hands. To which Nigel, I think, replied, that's only because they nicknamed him the Snail. Rob Murphy says, some of the most skillful players we have at our club are in the girls' team, and he says, can't see, can't be. But as well as the players, what about behind the scenes, the administrators? Now, I know recently we had our first female president of Connacht Rugby, Anne Hannigan. You know, that's a huge stride in provincial rugby. Kiva, do you want to give us a wee quick comment about, you know, where from the administration side, where do you think women should have a deeper understanding on the administrative side of the sport, as well as as well as the playing? Can we bring the skills from the playing side into the administration side?
Yeah, I think the first thing, is that the first thing that pops into my head is the quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg of "Women belong wherever decisions are being made," and it's absolutely true. And absolutely delighted to see Anne being appointed president there. And I think from my few years of experience as a coach, more so in rugby, like women are involved in committees and clubs or branch or national level all over the country, and I think role models absolutely is a very good point. That's what we need. We need role models, but we need role models at every single level. So like, you know, the likes of Joy Neville as a referee, we have international players at the moment. We have, say, Sue Carty, who's on the World Rugby organizations as well, that I think absolutely without, like, it's I understand that the game isn't as professional as the men's, and some people have this belief that the skill isn't as good. I would absolutely argue that, but I think we definitely need to have sort of people who are involved formally in the game, either at an international professional level or just, you know, as an amateur, as a club player as well. They need to be involved, and that's something that we're really interested in the academy as well, because that's who we're looking for. So we have the likes of Craig David is one of our mentor coaches. She comes down to do some clinics. Fiona Hayes, Alison Miller, Jenny Murphy, all the likes, you know, ex-international players who want to get back to the sport, and that's a big thing. Then they're all involved in coaching now themselves. But then when they come down to us and on host clinics and that kind of thing, the minute you tell the girls that, you know, Fiona Hayes or Alison Miller is going to coach you for a whole day, the excitement that comes out of faces, like it's this massive thing. Coming back to role models, that yes, we definitely need them. You know, we need role models on the pitch, but we also need role models behind the scenes.
And Kiva, maybe give us an idea. I know that you're bringing a new initiative in through the Rugby Academy there. Can you give us some more information about the initiative? Well, what you're planning to do with it?
Yeah, so we've sort of got two ends of it. The first then is more so looked after by Dave Nolan, who is our head of education. He's also doing his PhD at the moment. But what he is looking into is the effects of exercise on, the effects of the menstrual cycle on exercise, which if you've been involved as a female in sport, or if you're, a coach involved in women's sport, it's a very, very under-researched topic that can have, it's so individual, it's so varied that some people can completely, not be able to function when they're under period. Some people it doesn't affect them at all. So that's a very interesting research topic that he's looking into with DCU and the Irish Research Council. So that's over the next 3 years. It's going to be, he's studying women's rugby players in Ireland as well, which again, even more so, is under research. So very excited to see what comes from that. And then more so on the rugby and the coaching side, you're kind of getting a bit of an exclusive now, because we're not meant to announce it till tomorrow, but we're actually setting up a women's under-20s team. Just again, from my years of experience as a coach, and unfortunately that under-18, and I'm sure also you'll agree, the under-18 to senior gap, making that transition, even at a club level, can be very, very difficult for girls, because suddenly you're playing girls who've been playing rugby longer than you've been alive, and it's a completely different skill set. The speed of the game is so much different. So we see that there's a need for a little bit more support at that age, and we decided to set it up. So I'm absolutely delighted that Fiona Hayes is coming on as a head coach. We have Alison Miller as backs coach, and Jenny Murphy as skills coach. So, I mean, 3 ex-internationals, 3 Six Nations Grand Slam winners involved as your coaches. So the idea behind it is the girls still play their club rugby, the college rugby, whatever it is, but at the end of each month for the season, they'll come down to us for a training session. So kind of 5 or 6 months, depending. And then at the end of the month, we're going to go overseas, hopefully with COVID, and play another under-20 side. So give them exposure to international rugby as well, which is invaluable. So really for this, we're looking for, anyone who has interest in just improving their game. It's not necessarily the girls who are coming up from interpros, although we'd love to have them. But we know that sometimes girls can be, not identified at that age group that are actually very good players. So we're inviting absolutely anybody who has interest in, playing in a team that's set up to help you transition. The end goal for this team, really, to be honest, is we know that hundreds of girls drop out of sport kind of 18 or 19 because they find that transition way too difficult. So the goal for this team is just to keep a squad of 30 or 35 girls in rugby. That is the main goal. But obviously it's in a high performance environment. They're going to come out better players. They're going to get experience in international rugby as well. So it's a very exciting initiative. I'm really excited to get it going.
Fantastic. An absolutely fantastic idea. I'd seen something today. I think it was through one of the AAL club pages that that they were looking at that particular subject, that transition from 18s to professionals, and that there didn't seem to be that stopgap. And it's fantastic to see Rugby Academ Ireland doing something to try and help out that little transition period. And I think if anything, I can't wait to see what will come from that, and certainly if it leads to more retention, through all the provinces, then Craic, we should be all for it here. Gregor, I see you have a wee question up here. Do you want to fire this one up?
How good is it to see Joy Neville being named as the TMO for the EU Autumn, for the women's game, the EU Autumn tournament? How is it good? Why is it good for the women's game in general?
I do think it's fantastic to see someone like Joy, who has gone from strength to strength as a referee. And in all fairness, she's refereed 1 or 2 of my games that I've played, and she is a fantastic referee. She allows the game to flow. And I think it's more important from an aspect of seeing women in rugby, not just women's rugby players, but seeing women in rugby and seeing the difference that they can make, and that they have the skill set to continuously excel in whatever role within rugby that they've chosen.
Kiva, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I'm the absolute same, and I think again that kind of history being made is really important. And I see, I'm not a major fan of American football, but there was history made over the weekend that there was 3 coaches for the first time ever who are female involved in the NFL team. So it is those things. And if you ask anybody, any woman or any man, why they got involved in rugby, it's typically because they saw someone else. I know I got involved in rugby because of the 2014 World Cup. So things like this, seeing, again, a woman involved in rugby that's not necessarily a player, would also spur on another girl to take it up. I think it's amazing, and absolute props to Joy Neville again. She is an excellent referee.
And so just a couple of quick comments here. Nigel says, Joy Neville's a TMO for the Italy game, but for me, she's good enough to hold the whistle at any level, in my opinion. So it's good, but she is more than that, to be honest. And Johnny Wabba, good evening to you, Johnny. How are you, sir? And it's great at our Ilse. Ilse is a great role model for young females who have the ambition to play rugby at the top level. I totally agree with that, especially after the performance against my own city of Derry there a few weeks ago, up the Churches Road. Definitely, from all accounts, now was quite the cracker of a game. They defeated quite well, but from all accounts, Cook very strong side, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing more of that now. Hopefully, should we get through all these restrictions? Who else we got there? Let's have a look. And some person 3 Bod Rugby says women's rugby and women in rugby. Awesome.
I agree entirely.
Well, look, sort of just to sort of tie things up now. What would each of you like to sort of see in terms of development of all aspects of Ulster Rugby over the next 12, 24 months? Gregor, what would you like to see?
Like, just to breed like the young players, and like for the coaches to keep doing their job, and like the schools to get involved even more.
Yeah.
Plus, like, everyone could do their part to help us during this times. So like we could like coaches of the youth clubs need to keep like an eye on future players for the club, and every team, like in general, just in Ulster. Plus the fans can find the players as well, just despite it's a new season, just to back us all the way.
Kiva, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been a very exciting time from a women's rugby point of view as well, and I think long term. I know I'm a Leinster person, but it would be great to see Ulster go on and win the Interpros in the next few years. Again, similarly, I think there's very exciting young players coming up, and I'm very interested to watch their development and see how they get on at the senior level. I think it could be a very exciting few years for the Ulster women.
And also, maybe a wee word from you. I think Ilse may have just dropped out a wee bit there. There he is. Hello.
I'm back.
She's back. Just very quickly, what would you like to see happen with Ulster in the next 12, 24 months?
I would like to see more cohesion. I would like to see that Ulster actually get a team in place that has the ability to do some damage in the European, especially the European. I do think with the Pro 14 and everything that's happening in the Pro 14, that they have to be able to prove themselves in the European Championship more than in the Pro 14. But the Pro 14 is about to get a lot more difficult. I've seen today again that they have just said that there's 4 South Africans team joining. Now, my heart breaks for the Cheetahs. Because
I agree.
They should not have been dropped. You have teams like Western Province who can't afford to pay their players. So if it comes down to money, then I don't know for a fact that Western Province is not the team that should have come up. But yeah, I would like to see also be more competitive in the European Cup.
I know for myself now, I would really like to see those academy players now coming up through, certainly, if not in this first 12 months, certainly in the second 12 months, certainly We have a number of real good talents coming through there, and certainly I would love to see Aaron Sexton at least get one go this year on the wing there for sure. Well, look, folks, we're going to have to wrap it up now. I'd like to thank you all for some excellent contributions tonight, and of course we have to thank some strange producer behind the scenes, chef, whoever he is. By the way, Joe, you now have to add an extra £3 into the flying kitty for showing that Leinster shirt earlier. The next show is tomorrow. The next show is tomorrow, 1st of October, 7 p.m. UK and Ireland time, and 8 p.m. in South Africa for its the return of our South African Rugby Roundup Driebaka, a ball and blitzball. And they're looking at last weekend's Super Rugby and this weekend's Green versus Gold Springbok match, and obviously cover more on the Cheetahs leaving the Pro 14 and the 4 Super Rugby sides coming through. So I would advise you, please do come in and have a watch, because certainly with what's going to happen with Pro 12 into Pro 16, perhaps it's gonna have a wee bit of a. Oh, and just a quick comment, Johnny Wappa, what's the kitty up to? Last time I checked, Johnny, we're at 27.50, and if there's any complaints coming through, it may go up to £30 by the end of the night. That's about it for tonight. Thank you very much, Gregor. Very fascinating look at the tag rugby. Kiva, once again, thanks to yourself and Dan down there, Rugby Academ Ireland, for everything you're doing down there, and thank you for that lovely exclusive.
The world exclusive, yeah.
And also, thank you very much, brilliant host. And even though you were tackled there in the last couple of minutes, we were going a bit sideways. Great to see you getting and Ilse has been tackled.
That's a little bit more difficult than people would think. I don't like getting tackled.
Well, look, folks, thank you very much, everybody, for watching tonight. This has been the Ulster Rugby Roundup show, the WhiteWalkers chatting Craic, and we will see you again soon. So from everybody here, have a good evening, folks, and stand up for the Ulster men and women.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.